Like, I think they revisited it, or maybe not.
It's actually it's a reference to one of the older movies, yeah, because he's
Yeah,
done
that's
that
exactly what
before.
I mean. I think they just did it again, just because that is the greatest kill that anyone could ever do.
It was just funny though, because he picks up one of them in the sleeping bag and starts beating the shit out of the other one who's still in a sleeping bag, and then he slams the one that he was holding up against the tree, and it was perfect. But one of the best things,
Just like, I don't give a shit.
I think it was Jason 7, when this black guy starts trying to beat the shit out of him. He's like punching and kicking the shit out of him.
Punched his head off in one blow.
Just bam, it's gone.
Okay, your go.
Hey, so Rogue, you want to read now?
Are we recording?
Yes!
Woo! So we go from awesome Jason talk to...
Wait,
So we're going from awesome talk about Jason movies to really shitty X-Files shit. Okay, let's move along with that. And now we shall read Muldor Gets an Anal Probe. And it's,
This is exactly what was happening during it.
and it's by a guy named Shaban.
This guy writes a lot of terrible fanfic.
Oh no, this isn't the whole thing. We're missing 10 pages of horrific torture.
Alright, so have you ever read a piece of fanfic that was just ugly for no reason, where someone gets tortured and raped for pages and pages on end, then gets rescued, and then the story's over? Now, yes, it may be realistic that horrible things sometimes happen to people, but isn't fanfic supposed to be fun to read? What's the point in reading something that's just ugly from start to finish? Where's the payoff? And why write it? Here's a truncated example of that kind of story. The torture is fairly graphic, but brief. You can easily skim over it, and unlike other bad fic stories on this site, it's not funny. At the end of the footnotes is a how this story should have saved note.
It saved its game improperly. It turned the console off for saving.
Muldor felt the pull of the hooks piercing his cheeks, stretching his skin from his face. He didn't know how long he'd been there, naked and strapped to this cold metal chair. But he knew it had been a long time. He'd hoped that time would make the pain of the hooks lessen, but it didn't. He still felt the icy coldness of each and every one, the sharp pain of each hole, the near tearing of skin from meat. There was a sudden new coldness as he felt the part of the chair slide away from beneath him. A metallic whir told him that what was coming next. Another probe, another drill slicing through flesh and bone, testing who knows what. His pain threshold had certainly been tested, and he'd failed time and again. The familiar bone-chilling terror seized him by the throat as the whirring got louder, and just before the flail started ripping into the flesh of his anus, he screamed the one name that gave him any comfort in this cold place, the one name that could save him. Scully! 10 pages of horrific...
I bet that this thing involves, what was it? I bet this thing involves, cupcakes in some way. I bet you all dollars.
10 pages of horrific torture snipped for the sake of brevity and good taste. I want to read that now. I want to read those 10 pages.
I do too.
I want to see the bad taste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Hold on a minute. Pause the recording for a minute, Rar.
Sav's getting an
Okay,
intro.
we've
No!
resumed.
You're going?
Yep.
Alright, we tried to find it, couldn't find it, fuck it, moving along. Skinner dashed into the basement office. They found Muldor, he panted. Scully head snapped up. Where is he? The hospital, he held out his hand, and Scully bolted out from behind the desk. Doggett silently watched them go. He knew this wasn't for him. He'd wait. Scully silently read the medical report on the trip over as Skinner drove. She'd seen Rossier... Really? You can't even fucking spell dossier right? In Amnesty International's files. It was horrific. Nearly 1/4 of Muldor's body was missing, and the remaining parts all showed signs of systematic torture. It was a wonder he was alive, but his kidnappers appeared to have gone to great lengths to ensure his survival. Letting him die would have been more merciful. They raced through the hallways of the hospital, making a beeline for the secure wing, where they knew Muldor would be kept. Deputy Director Kirsch attempted to stop them outside Muldor's door, but Skinner cold-cocked him. Scully palmed the door open and raced to Muldor's bedside. Empty eye sockets turned to her as his one remaining arm stretched a fingerless hand to the sky. Scully, why won't you save me, Scully? Shh, Muldor, I'm right here, she said, taking his battered hand in hers. I'm right here. Where are you, Scully? Why can't you save me? Mulder whimpered again, voice hoarse. Can't you hear me? Scully asked, fighting back tears. Scully, why won't you save me? Where are you? I don't know. I don't think he can hear you, Skinner said, putting strong hands on Scully's shoulders. I don't think he can hear anything anymore. His ears are fine, she whispered. I know. Scully lowered her head and sobbed into Mulder's palm as he continued desperately crying out for her and not hearing an answer.
So I want to see the how this story can be saved. Just read that.
Okay, for starters, 10 pages of graphic torture is not necessary. Not in the least.
Not like we could find it.
However, in the intro scene that I included, while nasty, could be used appropriately if that were the only torture scene in the story. Simply showing a taste of what poor Muldor is going through, then flashing forward however many months would suffice. Next, there needs to be more detail on how Muldor was found, what the speculation is on how he got in that state, and what the FBI is doing about it. It's what they do on the show, so the story should do it too. By doing that, you'll give your story a more genuine feel. Plus, it feels in details that the reader will be wondering about. This doesn't need to be done in gory detail, especially if it would disturb the narrative flow, but some explanation would be helpful. Finally, there needs to be resolution, the realistic resolution at that. Mulder has just gone through several months of horrific torture, and his body has been mutilated beyond repair. The author needs to get off her butt and do some research on the aftermath of torture, and then she needs to incorporate it into her story. And since this was set up as a Mulder/Scory hurt/comfort, the story needs to have Scully offering comfort and healing. Otherwise, it's a cheat. No, Mulder will never be the same again, but we need to see him heal to some degree. Otherwise, the story has no point.
Okay. So that was the story name should be changed in my opinion.
Mulder gets horribly flailed in his ass.
How to torture your
Better
very
name.
own Mulder.
Mulder gets a drill.
Oh my god.
What?
This is funny.
What?
Hold on.
More notes?
No, it's not notes, but I was looking up a picture for that Harry Potter fanfic and I found this.